Welcome to the late April edition of 3Squares. We are so glad that you decided to spend a little time with us either this afternoon or wherever it's convenient for you to listen on your podcast platform of choice. I'm the 3D printed AI-powered version of Charlie Arnot, and I'm pleased to be here with you today. We build trust in food through the Center for Food Integrity and Look East. My co-hosts, Susan Schwallie and Kevin Ryan.
And I'm Susan Schwallie. I'm actually going to admit I'm here live in person today, and I lead the food and beverage consumption practice for Circana, where we are the world's leading advisor on the complexity of consumer behavior.
Ooh. And I'm Kevin Ryan, CEO of Malachite Strategy and Research, helping companies with the front end of innovation and strategy. And I might be a large language model. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Could happen. The nice part about it is your feedback will help improve our performance.
Right.
So continue to send us information and we'll continue to get better.
Actually, I think our whole podcast is probably being fed into a large language model by somebody.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Just like Drake in the Weekend, guys. Drake in the Weekend.
That's right. That's right.
Song out.
There we go. Okay, well, we have a very special guest today, Susan. I'm very excited. The credentials of our guest are really impressive.
Do I get to guess? Is this like Smart List, Charlie?
It is.
Okay, give me some clues.
So I'm going to give you some clues. Our guest founded his own strategy and research company focusing on CPG, retail, and food service focused insights. Previously, now, I mean, the history, it's hard to believe that all of this could have been done by a single individual. Was global strategic planner at Amazon, overseeing the corporate brand and advertising strategies for global prime and non-prime, right? And if that wasn't enough, he directed strategy and innovation at General Mills for 15 years, led corporate and brand initiatives to discover new opportunities globally, wrote a cookbook when he was, 15 or so.
Really?
Used to give private cooking lessons and was a chef at a catering business. He also sends out a remarkable monthly newsletter. Actually, it's bi-monthly, so that's twice a month, if my math is correct. Critically acclaimed, and it's really outstanding. If you don't subscribe to it yet, we would encourage you to. It's called Culture Matters. He also is a host of an industry-leading podcast, has a master's and a PhD in food science, and a master's in food anthropology, which I think is particularly intriguing.
Yeah, that
and
is
an executive MBA certificate from Minnesota's Carlson School of Business. So, shall we unveil?
Yeah,
I'm intrigued.
You really want to meet this person, don't you? It's our very own Kevin Ryan.
It is Kevin Ryan.
Yes.
We're so excited. And we've talked about this over the last.
No wonder I'm tired after
like a year and a half. We've been talking about it over a year and a half because there's so much good stuff in Culture Matters. And, we text back and forth about it regularly in terms of, well, that was great. What'd you think about this topic? What'd you think about that topic? And Kevin always is a wealth of information. So we thought today what we would do is just dig into one of those recent editions of Culture Matters and talk about a few of the issues. We don't have time to get to everything that he writes about in a single issue. So if you've not yet subscribed, Culture Matters is the newsletter. How do they subscribe, Kevin?
You can Google it. It's probably easier to Google it, and it'll probably take you to my website and you can sign up there.
Okay. But if you're in the food industry in any way, it's one of those kind of must-read insight pieces. So several different topics that he wrote about in the most recent edition: why heat is hot, the end of free money, what that means to investment in innovation. And it's a really interesting kind of tale of two worlds when you think about the end of free money and what's going on with innovation. And then something that we talked about earlier this week, kind of among the three of us, is the we're on the precipice perhaps of some new grocery wars. So we'll talk about what's driving that and what it might mean for consumers and for the industry as well. So we'll kick that off. And then of course we will have the quiz, which is everyone's favorite.
Oh,
so,
yes.
We'll
winning.
Go ahead. Whatever. So we'll go ahead and get started right now. We'll kick off with why heat is hot. And Kevin, you gave us several different examples, which you always do, which I thought are really fascinating. So tell us about what you're kind of seeing. And then I guess, why, what's happening here? Why are we seeing everybody from SpaghettiOs to coffee to beverages to Jack's Links engage in more hot food?
Yeah. I mean, I just find it interesting because I'm always looking at what's being launched and everything. And, we're all seeing hot food coming out, more and more spicy food. And I think a lot of it, I mean, just to be very clear, a lot of it is just a Me Too. People are saying, you know, oh, I really want to launch something like that. But there's a lot of, there's a lot of theories out there of why consumers want hot food, whether or not it's, culturally, we're seeing a much larger Hispanic component in the United States. And so, of course, that might have part of it, or it might have something to do with machismo. There's been that theory pushed out there. But I don't think any of them really hold enough water, so to speak. When you look at something like SpaghettiOs and Frank's Red Hot, type thing, well, that doesn't have anything to do with either of those theories. So the one that I think about, and of course, this is just me pontificating, is the idea that, as we see more consumers talking about anxiety and stress, there has been research that shows that spiciness is an adaptogen, meaning it helps with anxiety. It actually lifts it causes endorphins. It causes a rush of endorphins. And, you do feel a little bit better. I don't know about you. I feel a little bit better when after eating something a little spicy. It kind of wakes you up, kind of gives you a little bit of a boost. So it's possible. And I think that's just an intriguing idea is that maybe all this talk about adaptogens, maybe we have one and it's already popular. We don't need, but we don't have to go all the way out and think about mushroom coffee. We have spicy SpaghettiOs.
Yeah. So when you think about that, it's interesting. And Susan, I welcome any data that you have through Circana on this in terms of what people are not buying or not buying. But some of this seems like it's kind of a natural line extension, and some seems like it's maybe pushing the envelope a little bit. SpaghettiOs, I got to say, it feels like one of those pushing the envelope a little bit, but who knows, right? I mean, we'll see. I mean, I remember that as a kid, it was kind of the last resort. Open a can, pour it in, and hope somebody eats it. So I'm not sure making that hotter would help, but we'll find out. But where do you see if you were to predict, are there specific categories or applications that you see as more likely to be successful than others?
I mean, so first of all, Kevin, I love your perspective that, hot has been going on for a while. It just keeps reinventing it. And it seems like there's always some new version from Asia coming over all the time. So I don't necessarily, compared to 30 or 40 years ago, I'd be willing to say there's more hot flavors out there. But over the last decade or so, I don't think so. But it is reinventing itself. So Charlie, there's a couple different ways that I think it's being played out. One is, a lot of times hot can be used to extend a category or kind of build on nostalgia. So I would suggest that both in the case of maybe SpaghettiOs, maybe Goldfish, who partnered with Frank's, that it's about extending up beyond childhood into adult flavor. Also, there's a lot of adults now, multi-generational, that have eaten those categories. So, that brings them back into the fold or makes it be something that the whole family might enjoy. There's also just some fun aspects of it. I think Frank's Red Hot, it's not the only one doing this, just did a partnership with a sneaker. I was trying to find it before we came on the show.
Yeah.
So there's some fun, like just cultural things that happen there with some of these brands. But I do think overall, like, Kevin said, it is a form of stimulation. And across food, we're always looking for more variety and variety seeking. And hot is just another version of that. And whether it's like an actual anxiety release or a dopamine kick or just something to keep your brain, we're so constantly bombarded and stimulated. I think it is more than just machismo or the portion of people that like hot. I love where you've gone with this, Kevin.
Yeah. I like what you're saying though about the reinvention in the sense I think about take it to a completely different category. Like you think like Marvel or DC. If you think about the way, if you look at like DC back in the 60s, Batman was campy. That's what everyone in the 60s grew up with, Batman. And how did you make it applicable for people who grew up with them in the 60s? How did you make them applicable later as those kids got older? You made it dark.
Yeah.
You got the Dark Knight, right? If you think about a category that's as light as SpaghettiOs, how do you make it applicable as you get older? You have to do something new, another way of envisioning it. So that's another way I think to think about it is you had to reinvent it for another, and you couldn't just bring back SpaghettiOs. You had to do something different to make it more adult. Maybe hot is just more adult.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And of
Yeah.
course, the combination of chilies and chocolate have been around for some time. Mixture of
Yes.
sweet and hot, a nice combination of flavors as well.
And
course.
coffee. And just last night, what did I had a bonfire something Paloma with hot.
Mhm.
So
Was it
I
hot
mean,
or
it's in
smoky?
cocktails. It was smoky and there
Okay.
was a little bit of hot.
Was it mezcal?
It was mezcal
Probably made with
Yeah.
mezcal. Yeah.
and then some salt and chilies around the ring with the Paloma sweet, which was interesting.
How was it?
Yeah.
I liked it. Yeah,
Nice.
it was good.
Nice. Excellent. Anybody have a favorite hot sauce that you like?
I don't know. I'm sriracha. If I'm going to do it, I just don't like the vinegar base as much of like a traditional Tabasco, but I
Mm.
like sriracha. It has, and the consistency of it. That's what I think I like about it is the consistency of it. It's a little bit thicker versus Tabasco, which is more water-like.
Yeah.
All right.
Not a big fan of Tabasco. I like cilantro, which combines cilantro into a hot sauce. And so if you were to think about a Louisiana hot sauce that also had cilantro in it, that would be how I would describe the flavor.
I'm not a big hot sauce person.
Really?
No,
If you
I
come
like
to
a little bit of
Kansas
chili
City-
sprinkled in.
Yeah.
I like a little, I like adobo.
Yeah.
Okay,
I-
that's like a
There's a
thicker.
little-
Yeah,
there's a
that's
little bit of,
yeah.
yeah. The
Yeah.
consistency does matter to me as well. I
Yeah.
don't like the really thin, runny
Mhm.
ones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you come to Kansas City, you can go to a place called Harry's Country Club, which basically all the seating is leftover linoleum kitchen tables that you could find at garage sales.
Nice.
And when you place your order, they'll bring over a basket of assorted hot sauces.
Yeah.
So you get a chance to kind of rummage through them and try different flavors and see if you like them or not. So
There you go.
interesting to see how that one plays out. Okay, on to our next topic. And we're kind of going to do a mashup here. The end of free money. And Kevin, you and I have both heard the same thing from the venture capital community, and I'm sure others have as well, that once the Fed started raising interest rates, the spigot dried up like overnight. Boom, it was gone.
Yeah.
And so the VC funds are struggling, if they're still around, or they've decided to go in different directions. But at the same time, we're seeing some really interesting, significant investment in automation, which makes some sense, but kind of goes against that initial grain, but it's not exactly venture capital. And then how does all of that impact innovation in terms of how does the availability of capital play into effective innovation or the lack of innovation? So love to get your take on how all those things are coming together and kind of the juxtaposition of the end of free money and what's happening with additional investment in automation.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is fascinating to have we've all lived through those eras. I mean, the idea that when interest was zero and money was basically free, that a lot of these companies, big and small, especially if you think of big tech companies, they weren't being held, their feet weren't being held to the fire in a sense for profit. It was for
Right.
growth.
Right.
And that, really supercharged a lot of these companies and also, gave the opening for a lot of these venture capitals to lend money in a sense, and not really, need profit right away. They were okay with that. And of course that's changed. And so that's, either pushed out a lot of these, small companies, or it's just the idea that now what we're seeing is a lot of the bigger, more established companies are now being, I think, applauding in the sense that they're now being held at the same standard as, bigger companies,
Right.
So it's like the
Right.
idea that Walmart and Amazon now are on similar footing, because the idea is that they're both being held to profit, which goes to the automation piece. It's like at the end of the day, they have to make the profit, they have to make the ends meet. And so it's like, can we make our margins better by having automation? And so you're seeing this fascinating development of how we can, save money as much as possible.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating when you think about automation as a cost savings. Not only that, but just when you think about the challenge of simply finding labor and the ability to find workers in so many areas of the food system. The investment in automation has been ongoing and maybe ramping up at this point.
Yeah. And the thing that does to innovation, though, is we're not seeing as much far out innovation for a lot of them because the risk is too high. So you've seen a lot of if you're familiar with H1, H2, H3, the Horizon 1, 2, and 3 levels of innovation, the way it's usually talked about, Horizon 3 being much further out, that's the stuff that's been cut. Because again, just like I was talking about before, that's the riskiest. That's going to be where, if you do have free money, that's where you would have put it, and now you don't have it. So a lot more closer innovation, which, is good, but it's not good for the long term. You're not going to see category disruption and new platforms developed. I think that's kind of a scary thing on the horizon when it comes to, and potential for, for startups that actually can get money to be able to do something. So I don't know, Susan, what do you see?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, from our clients, we're seeing, a lot of questions about really kind of sweating the data and really understanding opportunities across demand moments, like kind of what are the jobs that need to be done by certain occasions, making sure they're fully penetrated across all those moments when people are thinking about picking up a food or beverage. I think what's interesting down the line is we're talking about automation, but at what point does harnessing technology and AI help speed up or make innovation less costly, investment intensive? So, I mean, there were some things done even prior to the pandemic where I know, for instance, like McCormick was partnering, I think it was with IBM, and using AI and really helping with speeding up flavor, development and innovation. Like at some point, where is that going to come into the mix and help out? Because kind of we lived through the model of the Great Recession, coming out of that with the small brands really nipping at everyone, but that's kind of gone away, right? That's what we're talking about. So how do the big CPGs get back to this and do it more quickly and more effectively? And I just don't know what the role of tech and AI is going to be in it.
Yeah, I personally, I think AI will be a big help when it comes to innovation. However, I think I think right now what you're seeing is you have to separate how AI is being talked about into two streams. One is the PR side of AI,
Right.
and the other is how it's actually being used. I think a lot of companies talk about how they're using AI because it's cool, but when you really dig behind the scenes and you look, I think they're being very cautious because AI still is hallucinating. It's a BS machine. And so I wouldn't trust that with my output, so
Right.
I think that they're using it carefully to be able to do stuff. And when you look, a lot of the stuff that I think a lot of companies are saying, we developed this through AI. And for those of us behind the scenes that have seen it, it's like, well, we've seen those ideas before. Those ideas have been around. But I can see a future where it automates it enough or it speeds it up enough that it really does help them get through.
Yeah. The other thing is that ties to this grocery war piece, it touches on it, is we were in our text chain, the three of us were talking about how much information some of the retailers have about their shoppers. And some large CPGs also have amassed data lakes and a tremendous amount of information within themselves that they're bringing together. Or like Circana, we provide a white room space to bring that in and host it. And we're even collecting more and more real, a 360 view of the consumer. So I see that happening across the manufacturer side, the retailer side, and, in the research world, and there's machine learning and AI coming. So there is going to be potentially more, that's not even great English, more, better, faster. Can we harness it and analyze it? But I do think it's going to impact innovation. Although, Kevin, I got to believe that they still need you and Charlie and I to really make it come to life, right?
Yes, we're definitely, absolutely.
Right now,
we're going to hang our hat on that.
At least for now. I
At
think
least for now.
more better, faster works as long as you have a comma, right?
Right.
So
the comma is important. Punctuation matters.
It is. It's like time to eat children or time to eat children.
Or pork the one you love.
Right. Yeah. Either of those are good examples. So Kevin, how do you see, if you were looking into your crystal ball, what do you think is going to be the most impactful way that AI will shape innovation?
Oh, this is good. Put him on the spot, Charlie.
Oh boy, the most impactful way. I think it will augment the innovation process and do what a lot of companies have been trying to do for a long time. Speed to market has always been the big push. And it really will, right now, if you look at companies that are outside the food industry, like Boeing, they actually use AI to get themselves 60% of the way toward new engine manufacturing design.
Wow.
And that kind of stuff is, I think, going to happen in the food industry. It's going to be the sense of we have a history of these soups or these mixes or whatever it may be, these chips or whatever. And so you could feed all of those formulations into an AI and it could spit out like this is a potential 60, 75% of the way formula or new development, and then let experienced developers and marketers and everything else take the rest of the way. That will really speed up. I think that'll be huge.
Mhm.
And then going forward, shelf set, costing, do your planogram for you. I mean, you can see how that would just boom, boom.
Well,
boom.
help the consumer shop.
Absolutely.
Did you send it to me or did I send? I don't even know. The thing where the guy went on chat GBT, I think it was.
Yeah.
He went on and said, feed my family of 4 easy meals
Right.
with these food allergies. It came up with the menu and sent it to Instacart.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Instacart actually has that built in now.
Yeah.
So you can really see how that's going to, so I think we're going to see it from many different directions. And then internally, it'll go even backwards too. So you can see renovation and cost savings and stuff being an AI tool in a big way, because there's so much, well, I would say maybe that's been cleaned up now, but in a lot of CPG, there used to be a lot more fat in the sense of, there's a lot of productivity that could be done. Now that's been taken out now, but you could see that there's still maybe some possibilities with AI.
Really interesting. I think I'm going to challenge Chat GPT and say, I'd like a recipe that includes kimchi, beef jerky, and ice cream. See what it comes up with, just
Hey,
for
fine.
fun.
That's just Iron Chef, but without the person, Charlie.
There you go. There you go.
Let
All
us
right, we're
know
going
how
to
that
transition
goes.
to something that the two of you brought to my attention this week that I'm kind of now getting my head around, but I hadn't really seen this the way that you've seen it. And that's the fact that we might be on the precipice of some grocery wars again. So tell us what you're seeing, and more importantly, what does it mean?
Yeah, I'll start, but I mean, Susan is probably even closer to this than me. I mean, the idea that, through the pandemic, and then now we're definitely starting to see, well, a couple things impact. Well, inflation, it's still there, even though we've seen a little bit of softening. Supply chain, again, softening and all that. And just the idea that the conglomerates of grocers are starting to, there's a lot of M&A going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so you put all that together and you're starting to see a lot more competition. And in the grocery business, the margins are very thin. Some of the margins they do get are from the manufacturers and trying to get the manufacturers to kind of, pay it forward in a sense. So you put all that together, and what you're starting to see is less, again, to speak to it, less fat in the system, and a desire that they're going to have to fight for the consumer dollar. And then on top of that, you're starting to see a lot more of this digital relationship becoming to the forefront when it comes to consumers. Who is going to own that consumer relationship, which equals more data? And one of the things that the three of us were chatting about offline that I think is really important is the potential end of blanket couponing. In fact, just today, I read that Kroger is getting rid of the circular. They're no longer going to do coupon circulars, which shows you that digital personalized value is going to be the future, because you're able to give people a personalized coupon and not give a blanket coupon. So you're really starting to see some smart use of data and relationships in order to get those margins better.
That's
It's
fascinating.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie.
No. Go ahead, Susan. You're the expert here.
No, I was just going to say, Kroger has the data to do it. They're not the only ones that have the deep expertise in the data to do it. I live in the upper Midwest. I live very close to Meijer, is my main grocery store. And they send me, ironically, through the mail, Kevin, coupons
For now.
highly, highly personalized. However, I can go on the app and clip them digitally.
Yeah.
Right. So they're basically just sending me the discount rather than putting it on the shelf on TPR or setting up a feature or whatever.
Right.
So I find that pretty fascinating. But I think what's interesting about this is that the margins are squeezed.
Mm-hmm.
The consumer really blames the retailers.
Yep.
And believes they're price gouging when they're not. So they're getting a bad rap.
Yeah.
And the consumer is, of course, leaning on dollar, leaning on club. it's traditional grocery that's bore the brunt of this in terms of losing trips.
Right.
And so I think your point to they need to have a highly personalized relationship with the shopper and be available to them in different digital convenient ways is going to be ever more important, because just from a regular get in the car and go somewhere and try and navigate a shrinking food budget, they're losing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think the consumer will be the one to win out of this. But I think from a manufacturer point of view, what you're really going to see, and from a retailer point of view, is you're really going to see that continued battle for better and closer relationships with the consumer in order to gather their data and to become their go-to. That is definitely the future from now on.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Well, we'll keep an eye on grocery wars and kind of how that evolves over the next several months. And we may come back and revisit that topic in a three
grocery
squares.
And media wars, Charlie, because it
Oh,
really
grocery
is.
and media
What do we
wars.
call it? Atomized
Yes.
advertising.
Yep. Atomized
Wow.
value, atomized shop. Yeah, all of
Everything.
that. It's right to the consumer. Yep.
That's very cool. Very cool. All right. It is time for the quiz.
Oh, what's the topic?
Yeah, Kevin, what are we quizzing
Can't
about
wait.
today?
Well, I think we've talked about something similar before, but I continually, because warm weather is happening, I keep thinking about barbecuing and picnicking and all that
Maybe
kind of
for
stuff. So
you.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, yes. Oh, I've happened to have been in warm weather this week, so I'm thinking about
Okay.
that. So I thought
right.
we'd do a little bit of a little quiz on all things, cooking outdoors, cooking, picnicking, that kind of stuff.
Is this
Nice.
about hot dogs?
There is a hot dog question in
Okay.
there. Okay. All right. So my first question is, this is a kind of a fun one, and I probably, my French is not very good. What French word is used to describe grill marks on food? So you're familiar, when you grill out, you get grill marks. There's a French, of course, there's a French word for that.
Le
Is
Black
it-
Mark?
Right. That's it. I know you have to ask. Is it viande brûlée? Is it quadrillage? Is it, I can't even pronounce this, cicatrice, or is it flammé?
I'm
So
going to go
it's-
with quadrillage, and I have no idea why.
Okay.
So viande is meat. Cicatrice, I thought, was a cut.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it? Flambe? I'm going to say flambe because
Flam-
that's fine.
Nope. Charlie's right. Quadrage is it's like a square. Like it makes squares. You're right about viande brûlée, which means burnt meat. So I made that up. And the other one, it means scarring. I made that
okay,
up
not
as
a
well.
cut.
Yeah,
Oh,
scar. But see, I
wow.
tried to trick you. See, your knowledge of French kind of tripped you up.
That was 4 years of high school and a year of college.
See, I keep telling you, it pays to be ignorant. So there you go.
One for Charlie. One for
I used to
Charlie.
be ignorant.
All right. Number 2, which president threw the first cookout at the White House? Was it A, Thomas Jefferson, B, Calvin Coolidge, C, LBJ, or D, Bill Clinton?
LBJ, he's
The
Texan.
first cookout?
Yeah.
First cookout.
I'm going LBJ.
You got Jefferson, Coolidge, LBJ, and Clinton.
Yep.
I'm going to go Jefferson.
It's LBJ. Susan's right.
Wow.
Boy, no. Yeah, he
How did you
He
know
threw-
this, Miss Susan? Just because he's from Texas, you thought that'd be the thing?
Texas.
Yeah.
Hope he didn't have those boring pinto beans in water. I still don't get that in terms of why you would
Beans and
include that.
water.
No, if
I'm
Texas
pretty-
barbecue, you get pinto beans in warm
Yeah.
pinto beans.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah, and it has the flavor of wallboard. I mean, unless you put
Oh.
something else on it or in it, right?
It's
I
like
mean,
ranch
I seem to remember that he's the one, him and his wife are the ones that made Rotel tomatoes popular in the United States.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, if I remember that correctly, he's the
I
one
love
that they
Rotel
really brought
tomatoes.
Rotel into big prominence.
But that was
Okay.
before they were combined with Belvita, or after, or was
I
it
think
that
it was before. I think it
before?
was
Okay,
before, yeah.
All right, excellent.
If you were combining them, you were doing it at home for our fancy combination. Yeah.
Got it.
All right, number 3. You guys are tied.
Yeah.
All right.
Attention.
Here's a hot dog question. The
Pressure.
brand Oscar Mayer, home
Mhm.
of the famed hot dog, was originally called what German Swiss name? Was it Edelweiss, Matterhorn?
Wait. The hot dog was called this name, or the company?
The company.
The company.
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 Okay.
The company. So it was at one point called Oscar Mayer Meats, but before Oscar Mayer Meats, it was called what? Edelweiss, Matterhorn,
You
Danube.
can't look on your phone, Susan. You can't be
Alpine.
Googling.
I'm not looking at my phone. I'm laughing
Okay.
about Matterhorn. You keep interrupting. Danube. And what was the other one?
Edelweiss, Matterhorn, Danube, or Alpine?
Alpine.
Charlie,
I'm going to go with Matterhorn.
you're both wrong. It's Edelweiss.
Edelweiss.
That
Edelweiss
feels
Meat
Austrian
Company.
to me, more Austrian.
It was the idea that he wanted his company to be, because the flowers only grow at the high levels of the mountains. He wanted them to be the highest level of quality. Yes. Also, Oscar Mayer was really big. He was one of the first meat packers that actually really embraced the whole Pure Food and Drug Act. So that was
Wow.
Interesting.
Did he know that his bologna had a first name and a second name? Did he know that?
I don't know. He probably did. He's probably pretty close to it.
Yeah. Excellent. Cool.
Number 4. All right. You're still tied. What does the 57 on Heinz ketchup stand for? Is it A, the company at the time sold 57 products? Is it B, the company's 57 employees at the time? C, there were 57 known varieties of ketchup? Or D, the founder thought 57 was a lucky number?
C.
You saying there's 57 varieties of ketchup?
Yeah.
Okay. Susan?
Well, so I'm trying to imagine the packaging. It is Heinz 57. And I thought there was varieties involved, but I can't believe they made 57 varieties of ketchup. I mean, that would be my first guess. And I can't say what Charlie's going to
So
say.
the company sold 57 products, 57 employees, 57 varieties of ketchup, or lucky number?
It's not the lucky number. I'm going to go with 57 products.
It's the lucky number.
No.
Yeah. He thought it was a lucky number. He just liked the word, like the number 57.
Get out.
Yeah. They had over 60 products at the time. So it had nothing to do with
I thought talked about the varieties on the label. We actually used quite a bit of that growing up because the cuts of meat we could buy, the steaks we bought were really bad.
Right. So it went well with
So we
ketchup.
covered them up with Heinz 57.
Well, I have a 12-year-old, so you know how heavy our ketchup usage is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Heinz 57 was like gourmet. in
Did
our
I tell
house
you
growing up.
my MPD hot dog story? It's very quick. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So,
Go.
okay. So we've been tracking for 40 years how people eat their food and what they put on their food. So like, what do you put on your hot dog? I can tell you like those things, right? What's the number one thing that kids put on hot dogs?
Ketchup.
Ketchup.
Right?
Ketchup. So
Yeah.
we had to bring your kids to, this was like 10 years ago. We had to bring your kid to work day. And my kid was there and we had like a Chicago hot dog bar.
Oh, you can't put ketchup
Can't
on.
put ketchup on a hot dog.
There was no ketchup. We
No,
gave
it's
you
like-
the
it's
kids,
illegal.
like,
law. It's actually
is.
it was
there's a civil
mutiny.
ordinance.
Like
Yeah.
our office manager had to run out and get
Yes.
ketchup.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
I'm like,
an
how do
ordinance
we
you
not
cannot
know
put ketchup
this?
on a hot dog.
I know. I grew up in
Chicago.
Chicago. And so I know that. You can put
Yeah.
piccalilli, you can put hot peppers and all that.
Kids don't eat
Yeah.
that on their
I
hot
know,
dog.
but you cannot put
That's
ketchup
for
on a hot
adults.
dog.
In Chicago, kids
Yeah.
want ketchup on their hot dog.
Yeah. And it's a poppy seed roll too. You can't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
were a
yeah.
lot of problems.
You get
We
those at the
overcomplicated it.
I used to get those at the stands at O'Hare, right?
Yeah,
I can't remember the name.
right.
The Vienna hot dog stand, I think that's
Yeah.
what it was. When you
Well, there
get
could have
those-
been Portillo's, maybe Portillo's.
Could
Might
have
have been, but you had a little pepper in there, and you had the
Yeah,
relish,
it's
and
good.
you had the
It's
hot
delicious.
mustard,
There's
and
one
whatever.
on every corner. I mean,
Poppy
there's,
seed roll, but no ketchup.
No ketchup.
Doug's
All right.
dogs won't even give you ketchup for your fries. Don't.
All right. Last question. You can
That's
still
what- here we go.
tie.
Okay. All right. All right. All right.
What percentage of Americans own a grill?
Oh,
Is it
gosh, I should know this.
25%?
Wait, where did you get what's your data source? Because we
Ah,
track this.
I
your
have to
data
look
source,
up.
Kevin?
It's from 2020. I have it. I don't have it on this page, but I have it.
Okay.
It's from 2020. I know
Wait,
that.
what kind of grill?
Stop already. A grill.
Grill.
They have a
grill.
grill of some
Indoor,
kind.
outdoor, countertop,
Outdoor.
gas, charcoal?
Outdoor.
Out-
Outdoor,
okay.
gas or charcoal.
Okay.
25%, 52%, 64%, 82%,
52.
64.
64.
Damn it.
Yes.
Charlie's right.
I'm going to double check your data.
You can double check my data.
You
Go
know what
ahead,
just
do it.
released today? I'll tell you
What's
what
that?
just released today. 2023 kitchen audit, which
Okay.
is every appliance, indoor, outdoor that you own. I'm
Well,
gonna
there
double
you
check.
go. This is going to come down to that data source then, because that's the thing. So double check that.
I'll be texting you all shortly.
I'm sure you will.
I'm sure you will.
Well, thanks again for joining us for another edition, the April edition of 3Squares. We hope that you will continue to join us. And if you would like to give us feedback to improve our artificial intelligence, you can send us an email at 3squaresmail, the numeral 3squaresmail@gmail.com. And we look forward to seeing you next time on 3Squares. Kevin, Susan, thank you so much. Everybody, have a great weekend. We'll talk again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.